welcome back to another episode of NFT Artist Spotlight, hosted by AstroZero. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks.
Tonight on AstroZero Twitter Space, we have our very special guest, Emily Lazar. Emily's a writer, NFT creator, model, multimedia artist, hard rock and metal frontwoman for the band September Morning. I don't know if I missed anything. If I did, feel free to add it. So welcome to our spaces, Emily. How's it going tonight?
It's going great. Thanks for having me. I'm really, really hyped to be here, and I'm so glad to see so many people in the room and talking about this.
So can you tell us a little bit about what project you have going on and maybe a little bit about your background and just dabble a little bit into the type of art that you do?
Okay, so my name is Emily Lazar, and I am a transmedia artist, I like to say. Basically, being a transmedia artist entails telling a storyline across all different forms of media. So September Morning is my project, and it is, of course, transmedia. It's based around a storyline that I wrote and published through Image Comics, a graphic novel, 4 comic books in one. And basically, the story is about a human reaper hybrid, this soul swapping sort of human reaper hybrid that gives people second chances at life. So if you've ever asked that question, why do all the good people die young and all the bad people kind of like live forever? This is the comic book that answers that question or tries to answer that question. I made the antagonist in the book named Fate, and Fate is kind of like a world builder, and he's trying to take all the good souls out of the world and leave all the bad souls so the world will self-destruct. And September is trying to save these good souls, put them into other people's bodies, give them second chances at life. So she starts this epic war between the living and the dead. And that's the basis of the story and the storyline. And that has continued on throughout comics, like I said, videos, live performance. We've toured from everywhere from, Europe to the United States and back and forth a lot. And we've toured with Rob Zombie, Slipknot, Machine Gun Kelly, like different people on different stages, different festivals and things like that. Marilyn Manson. So, we've done our whole like sort of live performance version of this and told the story that way. We've also performed at Comic-Cons and anime festivals and things like that nature because of the nature of the project. And now, since the pandemic hit, I couldn't really tour. And if you guys know about bands and how the music industry works right now, most of the income that you make as a band comes from touring. It doesn't really come from, sales of music anymore. It's basically you're selling t-shirt. You're doing a live performance to sell a t-shirt. That's like really what's going on. And so because of that, you kind of have to stay on the road for like 8-9 months out of the year, which is very taxing and really hard on you. But, when the pandemic hit and there was no touring, I had no income. So I was like, I've been in Bitcoin since about 2014. And I saw my crypto wallet grow and I was like, what's going on more in this world? I got into NFTs about a year and a bit ago. And I ended up being the first female rock metal musician to launch and sell an NFT in the space. And I just foresaw like NFTs being the kind of like springboard to artistic freedom, especially for something like I've made, because it does tell the story across all mediums. It does have artwork that is affiliated. It does have a character that's affiliated. It does have the music that's affiliated. So I wanted to be able to use all of that together to form these NFTs and get that storyline out there in a different sort of, on a different sort of platform to a different sort of audience. And I've done fairly well in that respect. And I feel blessed and grateful to the NFT community for supporting me, doing what I do. That's the gist of what I do. And then the project September's Monsters is a little bit different. But I don't know if you want to stop for a question. I don't know how this is going to work. So.
Yeah, we could go in a little bit of detail about September's Monsters. You have a pre-sale coming up for the whitelist, and yeah, let us know a little bit about that project.
Okay.
And I know that you're collaborating with Monster Rehab, and
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Give us
So
a little bit of insight about it.
yeah, of course, of course. So I partnered up with NFT Media Box, who's unleashed a couple of projects that are pretty dope. And one of them is the Monster Rehab, and I really like the storyline. I thought it was really cute, and it has these monsters that go into the rehab because they think something's wrong with them. You know, you have a vampire that doesn't like blood, you have a hairless werewolf, you have all these monsters that are like something's wrong with me, and so they go into this rehab to get reformed, but they end up realizing that they're okay being who they are and how they are, and it's a really good uplifting sort of story, and I like that a lot. And I thought that the September character could do something really cool with that IP. So we kind of combined our IPs together and created a new IP called September's Monsters, wherein September's being chased by this Reaper named Stitch. And Stitch is the master of space and time. So he fragments the timeline into 6,000 timelines, which gives us the idea of the generative project, right? 6,000 different Septembers. And September looks different in each timeline. But in each timeline, she wakes up in the same place, the monster rehab, and all these monsters are peering down on her, ready to like kill her. And she's like, what's going on? And basically, fate has stolen their souls and told them to attack her. So she has to get their souls back, save the monsters, repair the timeline, and get out before it's too late. So that's kind of like the very interesting storyline we put together, combining two IPs. And I thought that was pretty cool to do. And within that drop, the 6,000K drop, we're doing 3,000 on Binance and 3,000 on Ethereum. So it's the first ever generative cross-chain drop. And so we're really proud about that tech that we're using for that. And if you want to get on the whitelist, you can go up top and sign up for it. It's really easy. It takes about 5 seconds. And we will alert you on the 18th when we mint. And then there's a public mint on the 22nd. But one of the main things in this drop that I really love, utility wise, is the usage of an NFT generative drop to distribute music. Because as I told you before, bands have been slaves to touring for a very long time, and this is giving a monetary value back to music, which has kind of like decreased in monetary value over time because of streaming and downloads and things like that. People, don't really, use 99 cents for a song. And if you know anything about making music, you know how much it costs to get in a studio. You know how much it costs to mix a song, to master a song, to pay for the studio time, to pay for the equipment, to pay for the gear, to pay for like your producer or whoever you need to come in to help you like formulate all of this stuff. It's actually very expensive. And so, that's why bands spend all that time on the road, so they can make money, so they can make more music. Especially if you're a band. If you're a solo artist, it can be a little bit different. You can do a lot of the stuff by yourself, but still you need the proper gear, and that's very expensive usually. If you need the proper guitars, the proper cables, the proper like onboard gear, the proper mixing situation, that gets very, very pricey, even if you're doing it yourself. So, this is a way to distribute direct to consumer. So we're using these PFPs to distribute this music in a download form. So once you get one of these Septembers, you get a download of the new single, Dirty, which is coming from September Morning. And then if you hold on to that September, that PFP, in perpetuity, you'll just get downloads of new songs. You'll be the first one to hear it on and on. And we don't plan on dropping this on Spotify or YouTube or anything like that anytime soon. So this is the way you're going to get this music. We wanted to do this and see what we could do with distribution through NFTs. See if we just did it this way, how many people we could onboard, how many people we could get into this space, how many people would appreciate it. So if you support independent musicians, if you support musicians being able to make money off of their music, actually, please whitelist yourself, get on board. It only costs 0.03 ETH. It's like less than $150 to get this. And besides just the music download, you get a graphic novel download of my September Morning graphic novel. You also get an entry into the metaverse that NFT Media Box has built, and they've done such an incredible job. So you're going to be able to use your avatar in the metaverse. You're going to be able to go into these haunted houses with the Monster Rehab. You can do these games. They did an Among Us style game, which is coming out, and it's dope. They're doing camel races where you can jockey with September on a camel and win prizes. Like there's so much going on in the metaverse going forward that you can use this for. And like I said, besides the one song utility, there's just going to be more and more airdrops coming to my holders. A big thing that I always look at in the space is how much value can I give to my collectors, and how can I onboard them into something bigger than what we're doing at the moment. I never really think like 2 weeks ahead or 3 weeks ahead. I always think like 5 years ahead or 10 years ahead. Like, how am I like making this IP bigger than life and bigger than it is right now? And that's kind of where we're standing with it. There's some awesome utility in the metaverse also, like live performances. They're building out a stage in the haunted house so that September will be able to go on stage and perform and in the metaverse, and I think that's going to be really cool. September being me. And yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of really cool IRL stuff that you can do with these NFTs. You can come to my show, present it at the merch table, get 15% off your merch. I'll be airdropping, depending on concerts and how we tour and stuff next year. I'll be airdropping backstage passes, free tickets, discount tickets, things like that to people in certain areas. So there's just so much that I can add as far as value is concerned to this, and I really want to do that. So I hope you guys will join up.
Now, going into the creative process of how you started writing your graphic novel, did first of all, did the process take multiple years? Because things like this are quite complex. And going into the artistic portion of it, do you sit in a room with somebody? I know that you've partnered with Top Cow Comics, which is Image, and that's one of the largest comic book collaboratives out there. Do you sit in the room and like spitball with somebody, and then they kind of just draw as your ideas are coming out to them? And what's the creative process behind something like writing a graphic novel?
Well, for me, it came from a really dark place. So I lost one of my best friends when I was in my mid-20s. He was 23, and he died, and he was like my best friend. He was kind of like my lifeline, I guess I'd say, when it came to doing everything artistically. And when he passed, it just kind of set me back a lot. Like it sent me into like a tailspin. I got super depressed. And I was just like, why? Why did he have to, like, why was it his expiration date? I just didn't understand, like what was going on, and why he's such a good person. So like, why do all the good people, like I said in the beginning of this, why do all the good people die and all the bad people stay around longer? I just did not get it. And I said, I'm just going to write something about this. And I ended up, I started writing songs, but then I ended up writing about this character that could like give people second chances at life. And I started writing about this like evil like presence that was trying to take all these good souls. And I just developed this storyline over the course of like 2-3 years with these characters. And it was just me spitballing to myself, I guess. I mean, I just came up with it. And then I approached Mark Silvestri and I was like, look, I want to do this really weird project. And he wrote me back and he was like, what do you got? And Mark is a very forward thinking person. And if you know anything about Image Comics, he's one of the founders of Image. The reason why he founded Image Comics is because he was working at Marvel. A bunch of his friends were working at Marvel and DC, and they were creating these characters for Marvel and DC, and they had no ownership in them. They were just like drawing them, creating them, and then DC and Marvel were basically taking their characters, and they had no say. They had nothing to contribute past that. So they all kind of like got up and left and started Image, where it's creator owned. So if you bring in a character and a comic book and they want to publish it, you still own the IP. And that was huge in the space at that time. That was not being done. You had the comic book companies that were, like I said, Marvel and DC and things like that. And they'd hire an artist and they just pay the artist for the work or whatever, or the character they created. And that was it. But this was a total different way of looking at things. So when I thought about doing this whole transmedia project, I was like, I need to go to Mark with this, because Mark would understand first of all, what I want to do across platform. second of all, he'd understand how important it was that I own my IP. And so going into it, I basically pitched him that, and I pitched him the idea of this human reaper hybrid and the soul swapping and this and that, the other thing, and he came up with some other ideas, and then him and I started spitballing back and forth on a lot of different things, and he became my partner in the graphic novels, and because he was so intrigued by it all and thought it was such a cool idea. So we work on it together, and he's become such a force for me in my life. And, it's amazing when you lose somebody that's really close to you. Sometimes you just feel like this hole in your heart, but, if you're open to it, other people will come and, fill that. And Mark kind of did that for me. So I'm very blessed he did.
So your graphic novel, it also comes along with your NFTs that you're selling, but somebody could also just purchase it as well, right? They could purchase it through Amazon and a whole bunch of different websites. Now, is
Yeah.
it available? It's available in what, paperback? You could get it on Kindle as well, right?
Yeah, you can get it, digitally. You can also get it a physical copy of it. You can also come to our show and buy a physical copy, and I'll sign it for you. Or you can get it online at our website, the September Morning Merch website, or you can get it through Amazon, or you can get it through barnesandnoble.com or target.com. It's pretty much on multiple platforms. Image Comics has it on their sites, so does Top Cow as well. So it's very much available all over the place.
So when you guys do live performances at your shows, it's not just I've played in metal bands for a long time in my life, and it was just kind of like we go there, we drink our beer, we play, we leave. You guys have like a huge theatrical. It's almost like you're going to a Broadway play. I've watched a lot of your videos online, and it's pretty remarkable. How long does it take for you guys just to do the prep work to get ready for a show?
Well, for me, it's like 3 hours, like I said. But I'll tell you, I'll give you like a kind of like a breakdown of what happens in a typical day on tour. We roll in. Usually, load in time is around 2 o'clock, so everybody wakes up around 10 a.m. We usually go to a Starbucks and we work on things online that we have to work on until about 1:30. We roll into the venue 1:30. We start loading in at 2. I go directly down to the dressing room and start unpacking my stuff because from start to finish, it's 3 hours of getting ready. But before that, I have to like unpack everything. I have to lay all the costumes out. I have to do repairs on the costumes if need be or whatever. So I go downstairs. Rich, who's my guitarist in the band, he plays ribbon. He is pretty much kind of in charge when it comes to loading onto stage, our gear. Like he TMs or he tour manages us. He's really very, very good at what he does. And he sets up everything. And that takes a couple of hours. The main thing that really takes a while is just making sure like all the lines are properly like connected. But we do have, everything is built into a rack. So like we don't have guitar amps and cabs and things like that like normal bands do. We run most everything DI, direct input, and that gives us the power to pre-mix our in-ears. So like we run everything off of a rack and through a computer program that mixes us in our ears. In-ear monitors are things you stick in your ears. You can hear what's going on. That's how I hear how I sing. We don't run monitors on stage. Our stage volume is pretty much just our drums. That's all you'll hear if you're standing on stage with us. Everything's in our monitors, in our ears, and pre-mixed through this rack. And then that goes directly out to the house. And then it's really easy setup. The big part of the setup that takes the longest part is like the screen. If we're doing like the animated shorts, like setting up the screen or the LEDs or all the lights that we use because we have programmed lights. So during different songs, different hits like choruses, verses, things like that, we have programmed lights and foggers. We have those big geyser foggers that come up through our ego risers that we stand on, and the fog shoots way up like underneath us and stuff like that. But it's all timed to the music. So we're on like a click track which runs in our ears, and we all play to it. And the clicks, depending on different clicks, are timed to the lights. So different lights fire at different points in the song. It's really kind of cool. And it's, all synced together. So just making sure all of that is working properly before we get on stage. It takes the most time, but the guys usually have a pretty quick setup time at this point because they know what's going on. But as of next year, we're changing our whole stage show. So it's going to be like, it takes a while to kind of learn the new, like when we start doing it, but we're getting new lights and things like that, and changing the boxes out and changing what we're doing with the animation and all this sort of stuff. So it's going to be a learning curve, but it's going to be really cool. But we wanted to do it that way because we didn't want to spend all the time setting up gear. We wanted to spend all the time setting up something that would create a world, because we're very into world building. And when you come to a September morning show, it's like you come to like another world, and you get invited into it. And we want to like keep you there and take you to another place so that you're not like stuck in your normal life anymore. And we want to take you to our fantasy place and make it really cool. So that's how we do it.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a normal rock show that you would go to. There's definitely a lot more elements to it. So when you guys released Volume 2 and you ended up on the Billboard charts, how crazy was that?
Yeah, I mean, that was cool. Like, Billboard's cool. I've been on Billboard many times because I did pop before I did rock. So I got signed when I was like 19 to a pop deal, and I had a crazy song that came out. I really don't want to mention like exactly because I don't want people digging this shit up, but like, but it stayed on Billboard for quite a long time. And then, I got into rock, and because I wanted to write my own songs. I wanted to be like, my own artist and stuff like that. And I had this very, like I really wanted to be independent like that. So when Volume 2 got on Billboard, it was a totally different feeling than the other, because I didn't write that song, but I wrote these songs. So it was kind of like validation almost that I was on the charts, that like, oh, I can like do this, like, because you go on tour and you're making a living as an artist, and people should be like, tell me, oh well, that's validation enough. But like for me, it wasn't like, I didn't get validation from the industry until I got that record deal from Virgin Records, or I got that record deal from Sumerian, or I got that Billboard music chart, topper, or I got, I kind of like used to look at it like that. I don't really look at it like that anymore, because I just think that validation just comes from within now. And like the validation that I give myself when I do a really good job on a song, like I know when I crush lyrics, I know when I crush a song, like when I go into the studio and I just like nail the vocal, like I know that now. And I don't need people telling me that. And I think that's kind of like the only validation you really need as an artist. If you're happy with it, if you feel like you did your best that you could do, and you put out the work, and you made sure it was like the love in your heart that really spoke through your artistic endeavor, then that's the validation. So yes, it's great to get like whatever awards or whatever hype or whatever that. But I mean, I'd rather go to a show and have a fan come up to me with a tattoo of my face on their calf, which has happened, and be like, "You saved my life. Your music saved my life." To me, that's a better validation than any Billboard chart would ever be.
Yeah, that's pretty badass. When you could really do something positive in somebody's life. It's something I always try to do. I try to make somebody's day a little bit better. Really the goal. I don't really care about money or anything like that. I feel that true wealth is within your heart, and that's and how you treat people. And I think that's a really important thing.
Well, it's
Um,
amazing because in this space, like people like give a lot. Like you have there's, because we're all, most of us are like artists and not just, financial guys. You see a lot more giving in this sort of community. Like we're all buying each other's art. We're all lifting each other up. We're all like trying to support each other in some way or another. Even if we can't afford to buy each other's art, we'll retweet, we'll repost, we'll get into these rooms, we'll talk about that, we'll try to spread the word. Like that is so freaking important, you guys. You have no idea. Like that is how we build a really strong community. That is how we take the power back for artists, and I really do believe that.
So you're kind of like a pioneer in a lot of respects. Like you're the first woman to mint as a metal or a rock singer and sell an NFT on OpenSea. You're in an industry where it's pretty much male dominated. There's not a lot of really female front women in heavy metal and rock bands. And now you're stepping into a space with NFTs where it's predominantly male dominated. Now, what do you think is a good way to get the point across to women in the NFT space that they could do it just as well as men can?
I mean, I hate like dividing. I hate like I've always hated this. Okay, so I'll tell you a little story. Like Sirius satellite radio, Sirius Octane. If you guys listen to that anymore, like listen to radio, nobody really listens to radio anymore. But in rock, apparently Octane is like a big deal, and people get accolades for like hitting those charts. So, I remember when we were signed trying to get on Octane, and they were like, well, we already have our quota of female hard rock fans. And I was like, wait, what? And they're like, well, it's its own category. And I was like, females are their own category in hard rock. So are males their own category? And they're like, no, we can have as many males as we want, but females, we can only have a certain number. I mean, I literally got that response from my label, and I was just like, that is so like ass backwards, like not for nothing, but like I just hated the fact that there was this divide, and in tech there seems to be a little bit of a divide as well. And people can say, oh well, women just aren't interested in that or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like you still should be open to whoever wants to come in. You should be inviting more people across platforms to come in to this space, and you should want to, propagate that. And so me doing all these things in metal, and like I said, like you said, actually, it's a male dominated world, and I had to push through. I just had to push through and push through and push through until I got heard. And so I'm not scared of doing that again in this world. And I don't think any woman should be scared of it because I did it in music and it can happen. So if I did it in music, you can do it in tech. You can do it in whatever we want to do it in because we are a force to be reckoned with. We are an artistic force to be reckoned with. And a lot of women have, the emotional consciousness that's a little bit different from men's. And we bring a lot to the table, in our own right. And I think that needs to be heard.
I agree 100%. One thing I really liked when I went to your OpenSea page and I thought was very, very smart is you minted and you sell your lyric sheets. And I think that's a super cool idea. I know when I was younger, I used to bum rush the stages when there were bands up that I liked to try to get a guitar pick or try to get like a drumstick or get a set list. Like those were really cool things to me. And the fact that you're like minting it for your fans that they could actually have their own sheet, I think that's just so badass.
And I'm not even selling those. I mean, fans have put them up for sale, but I literally airdropped all of those to my supporters in the NFT space. So those were free airdrops. They were ripped out from a notebook that I have, that I write my lyrics in, and because I'm old school like that, I still write them down because I don't know. It just feels better to do that. So I ripped it out of that notebook and I like minted them, and everybody that bought a specific NFT that's attached to a specific song got an airdrop of the lyrics. And I guess I shouldn't like tell you what's going to happen in this drop, but Dirty is coming out, and I'm definitely going to do airdrops of lyric sheets to people that hold these NFTs. So that's something that I definitely want to do. Give more value to your collectors. And I've always loved getting stuff from stages like that, like the set lists and whatnot. I thought that was really cool. And I've always liked I remember seeing like, there was a book that my dad got me or something like, I don't know, 10 years ago or something that was like a Nirvana book, and it had all the like ripped out sheets of his lyrics and stuff like that in it. And And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I've always like loved that sort of thing, like giving back to fans, like a piece of yourself. And lyrics are as personal as it gets as a singer. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the personalization behind it. The fact that you actually wrote it with pen and paper rather than you typing it up on a little like WordPad document or something like that. And you do like little hearts and stuff along it too, which I think is pretty cool.
Those are my doodles. When I can't think of a word, I just doodle. So yeah.
Yeah, you hit that little writer's block and you gotta do little scribbles and smiley faces and
Yeah.
everything along hearts.
Yeah.
So, is there going to be a conclusion to September morning, and are you going to move on to something eventually after this, or is this something that you're going to stick with and you're going to keep writing and possibly writing more to the novels and stuff that you're doing?
So Image Comics just greenlit us another series of books. So we're going to definitely do another September morning comic book. I'm in talks with certain people about other aspects of the IP moving forward on a different kind of plane, which I can't really talk about publicly yet, but it's going to be huge. And that's going to play into the development of this IP and the worth of this IP. So, it's definitely worth something because it has a graphic novel that's already been published through one of the biggest comic book companies. But beyond that, when we get to announce what we're going to announce soon, that's going to be huge for us. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, we're definitely developing the IP more. And then September's Monsters is its own IP. So, I know Lou is really excited about this, and so am I. And like, everybody over at NFT Media Box is hyped. I mean, there's so much we can do with that sort of IP, combining the two IPs. And if you know about Monster Rehab, you know that they're doing an animated series, and they're doing their own comic books now. And so that's just going to develop that IP in a certain way as well. So now that we're combining two very strong IPs, I think that's going to take on a life of its own when we get going with it. And I'm really excited about that. And we want to do some more drops surrounding September's Monsters as well. And I'm very excited about all of this and what it can bring to the table.
So, with September's Monsters, is there going to be some sort of gaming utility built into it? Can you discuss the utility behind it a little bit further?
Yeah, of course. I can actually give this over to Lou. She can discuss the metaverse and what we're doing with September Monsters in the metaverse, in the Among Us game, and in the haunted house and the live performance and the camel races. You wanna take it away with that?
I will, yeah, not a problem. Yeah, so as Emily's mentioned a lot, the IP is combined here into September's Monsters. So our Monster Rehab, we're partnered with on the metaverse side, Land Vault, who's one of the biggest landowners in the metaverse across model of the metaverses. I'm sure a lot of you are aware. So they're building out our Monster Rehab haunted house across these, and working with our game devs to come up with some really awesome games in the metaverse. So part of that was, as Emily has mentioned as well, as the stage, the club space, so that we can have these, whether it's a DJ come in or a band or an artist who wants to perform, and I'd give our holders access to those digital shows, and whether that's a pre-recorded set where the avatars then perform, or we get Emily and the guys in haptic suits in a studio somewhere, and they perform live, and just you're seeing them as their characters, as the minions, and as September in the metaverse, and you're all there in your avatars as well. But yeah, and then on the side of it, as we have our games, that one of the first things we did in the community when we dropped our first projects was our community asked if we could do some sort of racing game. So we're going to have September as one of the jockeys on the camel racing, where you buy your ticket, pick your pair, you can do it now, but when it goes live in the sandbox next year, you'll be able to walk into the racetrack, buy your ticket, submit your September as a jockey, and pick your camel, and win for some ETH. So that's a fun aspect. And then we've got our Among Us style game where our characters are skinned. If you're a gamer, you know the deduction game there with Among Us, trying to figure out the murderer and before they get all of you. And then we have the Tekken style game as well, which our game devs have done an awesome job creating and just taking inspiration. Our CEO Buzz is a huge Nintendo fan, so all the old school games that we played growing up is where we're sort of taking some of our inspiration from. So again, September just fits with the art that Tom Martin, our artist, has done, just fits so perfectly into like that Tekken style fighting game. But yeah, we're doing so much across all of it. And Emily's been fantastic at just whether it's our studio partner Lionforge, who's one of the biggest black-owned animation studios who won an Oscar last year for their Hair Love animation, whether it's we do like a second series and we feature September in that, or it's our second round of graphic novels, the games in the metaverse, the games off line that you can just download and play on your PC, the performances. We've been super blessed that she's right there with us at every step of the way, wanting to just world build with September's monsters with us and just take the IP and the tech as far as we can go, which has been exciting for me to do this sort of female led project within the company and work with someone like Emily.
There's a lot of components that you guys have going there. There's a lot of wheels turning at the same time, and that's awesome. Let me approve my co-host here that got booted for a second.
Yeah.
I saw that happen. I was like, oh no, somebody's getting robbed.
It worked out today. I kind of like this.
Yeah, I mean, Lou is amazing, and I love working with these guys. Like I said in the beginning, I don't like thinking 2 weeks, 3 weeks out. I like thinking 5 years, 10 years out. You know, like how are we going to build this to get to a point where, you know, everybody knows when we say September's Monsters or we say September Morning, people are like, oh yeah, I know that. Oh yeah, I know that. Oh, I know that story. Yeah, I know that. Like that's where I want to get it one day. Like that's my end game with it all. And you know, if we can do it, it'll be because you guys do it with us. And that's the only reason why we'll be able to do it. Not because of some big third party shoving it down your throat or, you know, this or that, the other thing. It'll be because we built it, you know, all of us together in this room, in these rooms, in these spaces, across NFTs, across this. That's how we built. And that's going to be amazing to have a project that has built from the ground up with people instead of companies. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, we say this a lot in Spaces and Clubhouse, but we really mean it. I know with Emily and our company as well. Like if there's things that people want to see as holders in the community, whether it's a game that we can do or a storyline or even just assets on the artwork, we're always open and listening to what the community want. Our camel racing game and our NFT breeding program started as community asks. They sort of just said, hey, I think this would be a cool idea, can you do it? And we sort of took that, ran with it, and obviously we'll be hopefully doing September's Monsters Transformation, so a spin on the breeding program. But yeah, if there's stuff people want to see, we have great partners on the media side, on the metaverse side. Our team is filled with so many fantastic people that if we can do it, we're all about long-term thinking and using the tech and sort of being at the start of this whole metaverse and space and just doing as much for our community and our holders as possible. And yeah, it's just very exciting, very exciting.
So what made you choose camels out of any other type of animal to races? I haven't seen any camel projects out there. Is that the thought process behind it? Or is it just because they're really cute?
I mean, the camels are very cute and the baby camels are even cuter. But no, NFT Media Box, the company, we were hired by a movie franchise called Antara, which is based on a pre-Islamic warrior poet called Antara. And the movie's in pre-production at the moment. So they hired us to create this NFT project as sort of a marketing NFT to sort of showcase the story of Antara and the movie coming along with it. So there's literally an NFT called Arabian Camels. And that's where the camel racing came from. The community obviously saw what Zed Run was doing with the horses. And here we had an animal that is raced in the MENA states anyway. And yeah, we took it. Our game dev is awesome and came up with this whole thing and worked with our partners at Landvault, like I said, to come up with the racetrack and how it's all going to work once Sandbox hopefully goes live in Q1 of next year. And then from that, we took the breeding, where, like I said, the community wanted to combine NFTs but didn't want to burn or have to get rid of them. So you can breed your camels and breed your camels with your monsters, and be able to breed your Septembers with the monsters as well, and get another unique cool NFT. And we do it off of parentage, so your quote unquote mum and dad camels, or mum and dad monster in September, or mum and mum, I guess, with some of them, determine the traits. So yeah, we're all about doing some pretty cool firsts if we can, and we're glad that Emily's like right there with us on all these things.
Just so everybody's aware, if you want to check out the whitelist and sign up, it's the first pinned tweet up top. Please, take the opportunity to look at it and, give Emily a shout out and look at some of her other artwork that she has coming on her OpenSea. And a question I have for you, at least I've been seeing this lately. Do you feel that NFTs are kind of bringing back nostalgic things that we had in our childhood? Because I mean, as a child, I would collect baseball cards. Now we have things like Top Shot. I would collect comic books, and now you're doing graphic comic books. And same thing like video games. A lot of the video games are kind of dated back to like the Super Nintendo graphic portion of things. Do you think we're kind of having like a resurgence of childhood from the 80s and 90s coming into the NFT space nowadays?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that just dictates like where where the bulk of the people that are developing in space, where their ages lie, right? Within those kind of realms. And, but besides that, I do think that with NFTs are kind of like a different way. And I've said this many times in rooms, of telling the story of an IP. And storytelling is one of the oldest forms of entertainment ever. Like, people told stories and carved it on cave walls. And, the first thing you probably remember from your childhood is a story that maybe your mom or your grandma or your grandpa like told you. Like, stories are prevalent. We tell stories every day. We tell stories to ourselves. But besides that, we tell stories to our friends. We entertain our friends by telling stories. Like, storytelling is huge, and NFTs is a way to tell a story, like doing it through that way. I mean, it can be nostalgic when you see trading cards like Top Shots, or like VV Entertainment with all the Marvel stuff and DC stuff and the Star Wars stuff that just went up and sold out in 2 seconds. I mean, this is just kind of like reigniting that flame of collector, because this is the thing. When we went into the digital realm, the digital age, people, didn't want physical things anymore. Like, people got rid of CDs. They didn't want CDs. They wanted it all on their laptop. Everybody was just getting rid of these physical things. So now we have a way of like taking that love of collecting physical things and putting it in a digital realm. So now people that probably used to like collect all those things physically are now doing it online and just loving it even more. So I think this was bound to happen in some sort of way, and I'm just glad I'm here for it, because I love comics. I love gaming. I've been a gamer for a long time. Been a comic book nerd since I was 12 years old, and found my dad's Batman comics in my grandfather's, basement. So like, The Killing Joke was my first book I ever read at 12, and it was dark as hell, but I loved it, And so, I don't know, like, I think that storytelling is so important across, across time, and just having another way of doing it is awesome.
If anybody has any questions for Emily, feel free to raise your hand, come on up. If you're in the speaker box now, just feel free to shout out. And if not, I will just keep talking. I'm good at it.
I've got a question.
All right, you go first.
So I've been meaning to ask this every time we've had one. I've always been curious about. I'm the one that does the flyers. I've never thought about it until recently. Just want to make sure. Is that okay to mash up your art like that, or how does that sit with you as an artist?
I love it. If you look at the first issue of my first comic book, the cover, art is basically that head in the hands picture that you took. It's that half of it, and then that other half is a drawing that one of our artists from Image did of me, and we mashed it together and we put it on the cover of our comic book. So I have no problem with that. So I loved it. I thought it was so dope. I saw that and I was like, oh, this is sick. I love it. I was super hype about it. So thank you for doing that. I love your work. It's great.
Yeah, she
I
sent
appreciate
it straight over, and we were just like, dude, that's awesome. That looks so good.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I always get worried that I'm messing up somebody's art because I don't know. Everybody's different with it, and I just want to make sure I wasn't doing anything wrong. So
No, I mean,
No, it looks dope.
I'm a big advocate, and Lulu can like totally attest to this. I'm a big advocate for giving artists freedom and creativity with even things that I do, because you know, when we went into the art with Tom, the artist on this project, and he was like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And I was like, no, there's no can't. There's only a can in this equation. Like, what can you do? What do you want to do, Tom? Like, what makes you excited? Like, what excites you? What like will make you want to do this? Like, what have you not done that you want to do? Do that, you know? And that was, I mean, Lou, you can attest to how Tom reacted to that. So.
Yeah, I think like we've said this in a few spaces in Clubhouse rooms, but that was a huge thing for us when we were not only coming up with the concept for the collab and how we were going to merge the IPs and the art and all these things. But it was great in that like very first call where we sat down with Tom Martin, who's our amazing artist. And he said, you know, like, how do you envision this? What do you want to see from the art? And Emily just said, you know, like, what style have you not done yet that you want to try? Is there a pose that you've been wanting to do with NFTs and you just haven't had a chance yet? Like, create something awesome. Like you know the story, you've seen the stuff from our side, you know, Monsters obviously very well, having created them, and she gave him full creative control to like be respectful and not cross any lines, but also just do something different. And when you look at the artwork for the September character, it's different from our monsters, but in the same sort of style and vein. And it's obviously vastly different from the camels. So that was great. Tom loved that. This has been like one of his favorite partners to work with on the art side, just because of how free Emily's been in terms of giving him control. And you know, we have a WhatsApp group and we shoot across ideas of like, hey, this would be a really cool trait to do, or this would be a really good piece to take inspiration from, but whether it's pop culture or a music reference, a movie. And I think that's just like we've done it in a really organic way where just everyone respects each other's talents. And combined, we've come up with this awesome collab.
Yeah, I'm crazy about pop culture, you guys. Like, I just like love everything from Lord of the Rings to like Batman to, I mean, just like everything in pop culture, Harry Potter. Like, I love all that stuff. So like when we were looking at, you know, attributes for September, I was like, well, why don't we like, you know, take little nods at pop culture? And so we started doing that, and we got super crazy with it, but I love it. I think it's
so good.
Yeah, I think it's so much fun. Whenever like Tom shares some art, I'm like, oh my god, that's so and so, and da 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 da. And I think people are going to get a kick out of it. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys know Boss Logic, but he did a gauntlet drop, and his gauntlets had like little nods to like Batman or, you know, like Spider-Man or something, like, you know, some sort of pop culture comic book icon. And it's not copying or anything like that. It's just giving a nod, a wink wink, nudge nudge to like, so that, you know, it keeps it all in the same realm. We're all in the same sort of creative space with these comic books, and it's kind of fun to give them a little bit of a nudge there. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a really fun. With our monster rehab, there's a lot of references to movies and 80s and 90s pop moments and music. So it's been great to continue that over and just take it like a step further with the female character of September. And yeah, we've all had our say. I requested some Mastodon album cover art to be like referenced and inspiration from. And as Emily said, you know, we're huge like Tolkien nerds and gamers, so there's a lot of stuff. And I think what's fun post drop when these are minty and everyone's getting their Septembers, it's the same with the monsters when we were post drop there. It's just everyone like guessing the references, like what is this one? Is it this movie? Is it this person? Is it this moment? Is it this band? That's always like a fun thing for Tom, I know, as the artist, is people recognizing where he's like taking those little hints of inspiration from.
And Tom himself is like a metalhead, sort of. So it's kind of cool to have somebody that understands my type of music, kind of doing the art, because he's like, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. And so I don't know, it's pretty cool. So
I will say that growing up, I played, we called them, they were hall shows, but I played metal, and I would have never guessed in a million years that Twitter Spaces would be having metal bands or any metal conversation at all. And this is
see,
awesome.
isn't this awesome? It
Yeah,
brings
it
us
is.
all together. Yeah. And like, to me, it's really important, because rock and metal have been kind of like sidelined in music for a while now. And I think that's mostly because it got really formulaic in the way people were writing and stuff like that. And it just wasn't like it used to be. Like, people weren't taking chances in music very often in rock and metal. But we did. We took a lot of chances. Our label didn't like that too much, but we were like, we want to take a chance on this and do this way. And we got a lot of blowback from our label. But like, then we went independent right before COVID hit, and it's just like, now we can do whatever we want. And then with the NFT space, it's kind of like, you guys kind of, if you like dirty, if you like the direction we're going with, we do more music that way. If you want us to go heavier, we take a poll. We do more music that way. Like, I can write pop stuff. I can write metal stuff. I can write country stuff if you want me to. I can write whatever you guys want me to. I just need to hear feedback and get, from you guys. And that's what I love about the space and NFTs. And it's been so welcoming. My foundation sold out. My NFTs on OpenSea, I have one left, and then it's completely sold out. I'm number 8 on the music charts now for the week, right above the weekend. And that's crazy for rock and metal. Like, we weren't featured like that. Like, nobody was featuring us like that. So it's to get this love from the community and from you guys, and be able to do something that isn't, that brings different types of genres into rock music a little bit, and not be so formulaic and get accepted for that, is just, there you go. That's that validation that we're talking about. I'd rather have that validation than the Billboard chart. I don't care about that anymore. I care about validation from people who are actually listening to my music and love it. And that's important to me.
I think it's crazy how in these Twitter spaces we could just meet up with people that of all different like walks of life, and you never know who comes into your space. I don't even know how I ran into you, but I know I was in a space, and then I saw you in a space, and I'm like, I got to talk to her. And the cool thing is, like, you could just send somebody a message, and we're so new. I mean, NFTs have been around for years, but we're kind of like at that surge where everybody's almost at like the infant stages, so we're all kind of at the same playing field. It doesn't matter if you're, like we talk to M Shadows all the time from Avenged Sevenfold. Like all the time we're talking to this guy in Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, love
Like,
him, love that guy.
and I mean, like, it's
Matt's
crazy.
awesome.
It's crazy that you just run into like so many people and everybody's just on the same page. You're like, yeah, fuck it, let's make some art. Let's
Yeah,
make some music, rock music.
and he comes from that old school rock days where they actually got a huge record deal because they were actually selling CDs. So he's seen the the change from music distribution to what it's coming now. I love that they're dropping NFTs. I love that they're making it kind of like a fan club, which is what we're trying to do too. They're still signed to a label. They're not independent. So dropping actual music is going to be hard for them because of publishing rights and distribution rights and their labels and stuff like that. But they're still trying to get in the space and like really get it out to their fan base. And I think that's
their
dope.
contract's
I love
almost
that.
up with Warner.
Oh, so they're probably so excited.
They're on their way out. Yep.
Yeah,
because
because like all of these guys, like I talked to a lot of like bands. Like I said, we toured with Rob Zombie. We toured with like all these metal bands. We toured with a lot of people. A lot of people know me. I know a lot of people, and they're all like, I can't wait to be independent now. It's like the tides are changing in the scene, and it's really interesting to see what's really going to come out of this. But that's really funny that you told me that. That's great. I love it.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is kind of turning into like I could tell you, like when I was in a band a long time ago, we had I was in the CD era as well, and you would have to sell a whole lot of CDs just to get one little bit of royalties. You know, they might pay for your recording time, but you're not going to see a dollar, and you're touring like a madman. And when I tell you, like, well, you're on tour, like you were saying, 8, 9 months out
eight
of
months 8 9 months out of the year we had to do it, or else we did not eat, you guys. We could
the
not eat, and we could not produce more records. It like wasn't going to happen. And our label, that's when we were signed too. I'm not even kidding, we were signed when we were doing that. So like we weren't getting like money, like these weren't 6-figure deals we were getting. These were like, barely like like 5-figure deals, that we were getting barely. And they're like, well, that should be enough money for you for the year. I'm like, in what universe is like that we can do this? Like, how much it costs to be on the road? It's like they didn't even know or something. It was the weirdest thing. Like, they're
that,
like, oh, well, you should be able to do that. And I was like, with what? Like, Spotify's not paying us anything. You guys aren't paying us anything. Like, where are we getting this from?
no, it's
So weird.
true.
This
And
is
like, I'm sorry, Lou, go ahead.
no. I was just going to say briefly, we've spoken about this a lot since like we came to do the collab. Like I said, I come from a beauty and fashion. That's my background in work. So learning from the music side over the last like couple months has been really interesting for me. And I knew from an outside perspective, like it wasn't easy. Like you read the articles, you hear the musicians and artists talking about it. But speaking with Emily and really finding out how like crappy the deals are and the money is and how hard the work is, like that's what gets me excited on the music side. Is not only for the distribution and it being direct to consumer and artists getting a bigger control of the money that way, but just on the touring side, like hearing how rough and expensive and like physically and mentally draining like that really is for artists. As we said, like we're going to do these performances in the metaverse where Emily and the guys, like I said, will be in a haptic suit, they'll be in a studio, you'll get to watch them live, but just as the avatars that they've created. And that means that Emily can tour like countries with the band that maybe she couldn't go to, Australia or China or wherever, because of cost. And now you can do that through the metaverse. So still touring, but just not with the draining and the 8 months on the road, still earning money. Maybe as we said, the holders get a free ticket, but we can sell tickets to non-holders. And again, that's more royalties and money for bands and artists. And that's what, for me as an outside from the music side, just interests me about this whole space right now.
Yeah, when you're on tour, and like if you break it down, the amount of hours that you're working versus what you're getting paid, you're getting like less than minimum wage for sure. Like
Oh,
the
100%. Yeah,
and
100%.
and people try to like glamorize it, like, oh, you get to see the world, but you don't really make a lot of money, like unless you're like a huge name actor or something along those lines. I was watching a video a few days ago about the horrors of touring musicians, and they had Al Jurgensen from Ministry on there, and he said,
Yeah.
when I'm on tour, 23 hours of my day is shitty, and then the only good hour is when I'm on stage. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm good
that's
friends with
great.
Sin, who's the guitarist in Ministry. Sin is a very close friend of mine, and we talk about it all the time. We'll send each other memes about touring all the time because it's hilarious. Like, people think it's like, oh, you're partying like a rock star, and I was like, I'm too tired to party. Are you kidding me? When I'm done with the show, I go to merch, I sign a crap ton of autographs, I take a crap ton of pictures, then I have to get like undone, like undressed, like probably take a shower in a sink somewhere because they don't have showers at the venues. And like get my ass back into the bus and like go to sleep because I'm exhausted. And then I can't really sleep because my endorphins are going too high because of all the stage stuff and the stuff that we did on stage. So it's kind of like you don't sleep and then you get up too early because you can't really sleep in because it gets really hot on the bus. And then it's not like all glamour. It's a lot of work, but, what makes it worth it is the audience and the people you touch. Like I said, coming off stage, seeing like tattoos of my lyrics on people's like arms and legs and and getting these stories like you got me through COVID with your lyrics, and like you got me through this sad part of my life where I lost my mom or I lost my sister or I lost a loved one. I mean, that's just priceless, you guys. Like I don't know, it makes you feel so good inside. I can't even express how amazing it makes you feel.
Anyone have any questions for Emily? Want to do a shout out? anything of the sort?
Well, how you said originally that you're open to collaborations and partnerships. Um, how do I reach out to you about that?
Yeah, I mean, you can always just, DM me. It's like we're pretty much like the community's still pretty small, so just DM me
I didn't see your
or
DMs were open. I'm sorry. There you
oh
go.
yeah, they're open. I'm open there. I'm open on Instagram. Open on Facebook. Facebook I don't really check anymore because I don't really like Facebook too much, but that's just personal preference. But yeah, Twitter I'm definitely my DMs are open, so shoot a DM over for sure.
So going back to the whole touring thing, I think we have a beautiful thing happening where we're going to be able to do, tours from our maybe rehearsal studios where you could just jump into the metaverse. I think that's such a badass thing. I mean, VR and just everything in general, as far as the way that we're going and the wave of the future. I mean, it's going to make things so much easier and so much more profitable, and it's going to put like the everything's going to be in the artist's hands. You don't have to worry about going through all these crazy ass avenues. Like you could do your own social medias now. You could do your own everything from home. You could live comfortably. I just think it's kick ass.
Yeah, I love that.
I was going to ask you though. I saw on your Discord that you're also one of the only Discords that I've seen that tries to do a little bit of an educational. You have an educational tab like informing people what an NFT is, about wallets and stuff like that. How important
100%.
how important do you think it is that people actually get educated so they don't get rugged doing a lot of the stuff that they're doing?
Oh, that's very important. I like implore all of like my music people that are coming from the music space into this space to do the deep dive, to do the due diligence and know how to protect yourself, how to use a VPN, how to just how to go about buying ETH, how to secure your wallet, how to hold your own keys, not your coin, sort of situation. Like just be very safe. I think that's very very important, and that's why I have that channel up there. I'm going to add more to it soon. Also going to do some of my own videos and put them up there. Just teaching some of my friends and stuff like that how to get a MetaMask, how to get an NFT, how to like navigate through the space. I think it's really important.
I do as well.
I just want to say I think I found the reason why so many music artists are getting into NFTs. It's because people who get into NFTs don't sleep either.
Yeah, I mean, I work like 12 to 14-hour days now. I've been doing that for the past like 4 or 5 months. And it's really weird though. It's like, that being said, I haven't been able to draw as much. And I have a whole series of NFTs I want to release, that I need to like finish, that are based on my paintings. I'm a painter as well. And I haven't even done that release yet. It's like on my list to do. I have like 3 other drops I have to do before I even touch that drop. So, but it's like I love it so much that it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like a job. And also you're connecting directly to people. So it's kind of like, it's a little bit different when, there used to be this imaginary wall between artist, performer, and the audience. And especially in this space is very broken down, and you get to know people and you get to like know their personalities and I think a lot of the times people invest in projects and invest in art because they really love the person behind it. It's not just the IP, which is dope, or like the art is dope, but like the person is really solid and they're just a loving person, a giving person. And you want to see people like that win. I mean, who doesn't want to see somebody like that win? I know I want to see my friends like that win. And that's why I buy their art. So I think moving forward, like, the good people come to the top, and we all kind of recognize that in the space, and we all kind of support that. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
So we're about an hour in now. If anybody has anything that they want to ask Emily, or if you want to just say hi, feel free to raise your hand.
Yeah, no,
Emily.
I just had a question about
Hey, guys.
the mint, right? So, is there a max quantity that we can mint? And then also, are we just going to do it straight from the website, connecting with MetaMask on there?
Yeah.
Or how do you guys want to
Yeah,
do
so
that?
it'll be from our website, NFT Media Box. You'll go connect your connect your wallet, connect your website, connect your wallet, and if you're on the whitelist on the 18th, you'll be able to mint a maximum of 3 in the pre-sale, and then on public sale, we usually cap it at 10 per transaction. So yeah, it's quite easy. We've done a few drops like that now, no problems. We've got our IT guys have got it all smoothed out, which is fantastic. So yeah, 18th, as long as you're on the whitelist, you can get your 3, and then public sale at 10 per transaction.
Awesome. Yeah, I just had that question because I was looking through your guys' Discord and I didn't see it in there. So maybe I just missed it with all the information that was in there, but I appreciate it. So 3 on the 18th. And then what time does that pre-sale open
So
up?
I'll pop that up in the Discord this weekend. I unfortunately, my mother got diagnosed with cancer a couple of years ago, and this week found out she had to have surgery this morning. So my head's been a little bit out of the game, I will admit, this week. But usually our pre-sales go live 10 p.m. EST. We tend to stick to that time for everything. So on the 18th, I would suggest you go in, make sure your wallet's all set up to good to go beforehand. If there's any trouble, please reach out on Discord. The IT guys are always around to support. While I'm not the tech person, I do know a lot of the shortcuts and help, having done 3 minutes now. But yeah, we're always around to help if there's any tech issues, problems, questions. Please reach out to myself or Emily or anyone else on the team.
Yeah, I'm here for it. So if you guys need me, my Discord's always open. The Monsters Rehab is always open. The NFT Media Box one is always open. There's a lot of different ways to contact us. So feel free to reach out. We're here for you guys.
Thanks for the information. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, I guess we'll start wrapping up. Can't believe the hour went so quick. That was really great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for hosting this room, you guys. You guys are great hosts, and I always love being in your room. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, so everybody, make sure you check out the whitelist. It's right up top there. It's going to release on the 18th. Check out Emily's website, septembermorning.com. That's morning with a U in it, not like good morning, like you're sad and you're mourning. So make sure you spell it right. Lou, Emily, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you coming here, talking to the community. And don't be strangers. You know, if you ever want to pop in, we do these spaces every Monday through Friday. We do them with small artists, big artists, people that are brand new, people that don't even know if they want to get into NFTs, but we're going to convince them that they need to get into NFTs. So once again, thank you so much. Thanks for being a part of the family.
I appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you so much. And thank you everybody that's listened and come into the room. We really appreciate all of you guys.